Out of your belly, shall flow rivers of living water. Oh yeah, living water. Out of your belly, shall flow rivers of living water. Y'all help me living water. Out of your belly, shall flow rivers of living water.
Welcome to the Men of Integrity, those men that rescue men and women. Tonight we have a special broadcast as we're preparing for election on November the 8th, 2022. And I know that you're ready to cast your vote to help make a difference in our society. Tonight we want to interview one of our candidates, Mr. Steve Harris, who is running for Precinct 4, Place 2, Justice of the Peace position. We're doing this broadcast because I want to help you to be informed about the candidates so that you can make a good decision, as this is important in the times which we live now, that we have the right candidate that has the heart of God that will lead us in our next few years during this election. Mr. Steve Harris.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you tonight, what is the role of the county Justice of the Peace?
The Justice of the Peace basically handles all civil cases that are non-criminal. We can handle fine-only cases as well. So we handle everything from debt claims to small claims. We magistrate people, or we set bonds for them. We handle emergency protection orders. We actually we perform marriages, and anything that's Class C and below. We handle all of those things. There's a kind of like an array of things that we do handle, so I won't name them all, but the primary things we do handle is the evictions, small claims, debt claims, and environmental protection. We also handle some things with occupational driver's license as well.
Okay, so what are your qualifications that make you a good fit for this position? Just kind of tell us a little bit about you, your background, and what makes you a good fit.
All right. My qualification basically is, I'll just have to say my life in general, because early in years, one thing that I did do, like since basically since 1994, I've been in education. I got in education after I got, I had a current occupation, and after around 1994, I switched over to the education field, and so it's one of those things where I've been giving back to the community ever since. I was a teacher assistant in a special ed class. Then I became just a regular teacher assistant in a resource classroom, coached high school track and field at Temple High School. And from there, went on to get my, I guess we want to say my second associate's degree in general education. From there, I went to University of Mary Hardin Baylor, where I got my degree in exercise and sports science. And then from there to Killeen, KISD since 2000. I've been teaching and coaching in KISD. I retired in 2017. From there and to be on the city council. That's another thing that I've done as far as public service. I've been on the city council for 6 years, and one of the things I did when I was coming to the end of my term on the city council was I was trying to think about and pray about what I wanted to do after that, and the JP job actually came to my spirit. And but things weren't, the timing, if you will, wasn't there because the current JP was still in office. But God worked it out to where he ended up retiring, and that opened the door for me. And so even when I went back in there to talk to it with him, he did give me his blessing to run in this position. But what qualifies me basically is this, as I said, my history is even in the schools and in the classrooms, I've already been doing the job technically that a JP does, because every day we go in the classroom, we have to make judgment calls based on as far as consequences. When kids do stuff, every day we go into the classrooms, kids do something. We have to make a judgment call on what to do with them, what level of consequence to give to them, whether to contact parents, whether to write up referrals, give them ISS and so forth. Even when it comes to coaching, you have to make these kind of decisions just in a general sense. And it's not based on, it's nothing personal on the individual. It's just based on the facts that you have that are present. And so learning to be objective, learning to work with people, learning to understand, because about 25 years in the business of education helps you learn to understand people, where they're coming from. It helps you to gauge people and be able to even so in a lot of cases determine whether or not they're telling the truth or telling a lie. And now even so at the council, With the council, I was a policymaker. With the council, we handled budgets up to $74, $84 million budgets. We handled contracts. I went through, read a lot of contracts. We set, like I said, we set policies. We did all these things, and we actually made decisions that affected people's lives, whether positive or negative. And so, as a council member, that was a world of experience just in that short amount of time, in that 6 years, because you learn to still be able to, despite how you feel, you learn to make a call on what you believe was right. And so, with that right there, all this experience carries over into the JP job. And it's kind of interesting because on the city council, one thing I discovered was this: is as I looked at, as I spent time in the JP court, it's interesting because I realized that even so, in my years as a council member, we had to assess our municipal court judge. We had to come in, we had to assess him, we had to do a review and recommend him for either a raise or keep his job or lose his job. And in doing some of that and comparing that with the JP position, I realized that, all courts aren't the same. So because of the experience that I have at the city council, even in having some experience dealing with the court system, I'll say to a minimal level, even with dealing with the judge and realizing how the systems are the same, I do believe that I'm very qualified for the position because, like I said, I've already been doing it for so many years.
Okay, you said a lot of things there and some good things there, but what uniqueness do you bring to this position?
Now, as far as uniqueness, I bring, and I will say this, and I'm careful how I say it because I say it with humility, I bring a high level of, one, integrity. Because one thing I tell people is this, is that even in my service as a council member, one thing I used to always tell people is this job is not worth going to hell over. And I knew that because of my faith. My faith doesn't allow me to do anything or operate in any kind of way that puts my spirit in danger. And even so in the judge's position, when I went to the Bible and I looked for, if you want to say, marching orders, I went to Exodus, and when God was talking to Moses and telling Moses to get some people to be some judges as well, because he said the job was too great for him, I read what God told the people who were going to be judges. He said, don't be respecter of persons, don't put other people over people, and so forth. So those basically were my marching orders. So that right there is what I'll take into the courtroom. My objectivity. I don't look at people and just judge by their appearance. My thing is, it's the facts. I mean, it's the law, the evidence, and justice. That's all it is. The law, the evidence, and justice, because that's how God works. And so I would just say this, my uniqueness is that I'm taking God with me in there. And a lot of people say separation of church and state, keep him out of it, but it's because I'm taking God in there with me. That's going to allow me to do the best job out of all the other candidates, if you will, because God will be with me in there.
Okay, when you stop and you look at the justice of the peace role, okay, and you look at your uniqueness, how much of a learning curve is it to be a JP versus the experience you already have?
The learning curve, in regards to the JP position, there is actually a lot to learn on the JP position because it's a whole new, if you want to say, direction or realm of public service that we're getting into. So, but one thing in the uniqueness on that part is I have a learning curve in the fact that I've already been involved in, if you want to say, the political system, and I've already been involved in, if you want to say, a system that basically requires you to make judgments. And so with that right there, the JP job, the only thing that's going to be added on to that JP job for me is the learning of specific laws. Because as I said, even when it comes to different courtrooms or somebody being a police officer or whatever it may be, then they still have to learn the new laws. They have to learn the things in a JP court. And so I had that learning curve because that's what I've been doing all my life. I've been learning. I've had to go to training session after training session to learn. I have to teach people how to learn. And so with all those things right there, my learning curve, I think is I'm very adaptable to learning.
All right, that sounds good. Here's another question. are there any pressing issues to your knowledge that you will have to rule on right after taking office?
Any pressing issues that I will have to rule on? Well, the thing that we have most coming through our courthouse is basically evictions. That's what we have a whole lot of. And on the eviction side, my basic thing is this, is that I believe that I have a good working knowledge of evictions by now, because I have been studying and I have been in the courtroom with, observing Judge Cook, for over 45, 50 hours since I've filed for candidacy. And so I learned a lot of things just by being in the courtroom, as well as studying that I've done on my own through some training. So I do have a high level of confidence that I will do the job correctly. But at the same time, I'll still have resources that I can utilize, like contacting Judge Cook or the judge next door to me. Not afraid to do that if I can run into a situation where I may get kind of stuck or something like that. Otherwise, I feel pretty comfortable that I will do a good job coming into that. And but as far as as far as pressures or anything like that, I don't feel any pressures, because like I said, I feel pretty confident about that portion. At the same time, of course, there are other aspects of the JP job as well that I'm still working on training on, and there are some that are, if you want to say, more tedious in learning than others.
Okay.
Some are pretty cut and dry, just black and white, and other ones are more abstract, if you will. So you have to kind of go around those. So those right there only come with experience. And like I said, as long as you have resources, people to reach out to, we have the training sessions that we'll be going to as well, as far as the new judges. So I feel pretty confident that I'll do a good job.
All right. I've broken down two categories of people that will be going to the polls. Mm-hmm. What would you like the age group 25 to 35 to know about you as they make their decision of who to vote for?
I would like them to know this, is that I'm fair. I'm fair, I'm objective, and like I said, it's the law, the evidence, and justice. That's all it is. And if you come in and the law supports you and the evidence you have supports you, then you will get justice. And that goes for anybody and everybody. But that's one thing I would like them to know, because I know a lot of young people, because I deal with a lot of young people, they have a sense of a need for justice in some areas. And the thing about it is, if you truly want justice, if you want righteous justice, then that's what I'll give. That's what I'll provide for you.
Okay. And then there's the age group 36 to 70. Mm-hmm. What would you like for that age group to know about you?
I would say this, for that age group, I would say my main thing is stability of the law. That's one of my things, stability of the law. If you want to see stability in the law, then that's what I will offer to you. That's what I will give to you. I'm not there to try to figure out a way around the law or usurp the law or do anything like that. It's just the law. So I will provide you with stability of the law, and it's, like I said, it's just the law, the evidence, and justice.
All right, that sounds really good. What else would you like the community to know about Steve Harris, the man?
Well, I will say this, that one thing that I would like everybody to know is I love people, I love justice, and I love advocating for both of them. And I will say this, that one thing that I will do is I will treat everybody fairly in the court. And that, like I said, that won't be an option, because I'm taking God with me into the court. Now, at the same time, my decisions I make, they will be based on the law. God will be with me, but I will make my decisions based on the law, according as the law is written. And so another thing is basically this, is that my character is solid. I'm consistent in who I am. So there will not be anything that will change about me. I won't get in there and somebody whispers in my ear, next thing you know, I'm this way or that way, because God is keeping me accountable. And so that's one of the things I want everybody to know, is that if you want somebody in there that's going to do the job, as based on the law, and also based on their conviction in the Lord Jesus Christ and their faith, then I'm the person that will serve you the best in that position.
What about that group that don't believe in God? Then what would you say to that group as it relates to you being JP?
To the group that does not believe in God, this is the reason why you should vote for me, because I do. Because if you understand the Bible, this is what you have to understand. Just because God is involved, somebody takes God with them into politics, if you will, or the courthouse, doesn't mean they're going to make decisions, based on their faith. Because a lot of times what ends up happening in the Bible, when the children of Israel decided they wanted a king, Samuel went to God and told him about it, and God told Samuel, go tell him what's going to happen. Samuel did it. They still came back. They still wanted the king, and guess what God did? God allowed them to have a king. You have to understand, when God is involved in something, God is love. And I think most people know that if they read the Bible, even the New Testament, they'll realize that the whole New Testament is about love, respect, letting everybody grow up together, and respecting everybody, loving your neighbor, loving your enemy, all those things in that aspect. So for those of you who are not who do not believe in any gods, then this is the reason you should trust me, because I'm one that does. I believe that I will have a consequence if I don't follow my faith, if I don't follow the word of God. So based upon that, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter who you believe, I will still treat you according to the law, the law, the evidence, and justice. And like I said, I'll do that. I'll do that effectively and efficiently and consistently based on my faith.
That was good, because that's very, I believe, a very powerful statement, to be able to rule with justice and righteousness and not ruling based on one's faith.
Amen. Yeah.
Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Mm-hmm. How do you see that scripture playing out as a JP?
As a JP, I see it this way. If life isn't giving you what you want, and you're experiencing things that aren't to your liking or the way you want it to go, if you come into the JP court, at least you will have one aspect of peace in your heart, is that you will be treated right and fairly and according to the law when you come into the courtroom. And I'll say this because in the courtroom, although things are happening that involve conflict, the courtroom will still be, in the end, a place of peace. And like I said, the peace will be based on perspective, of course, but it will still be a place of peace, because that's where peace will be. That's where the law will be operating. That's where justice will be operating. And so in that sense right there, when you come in, even though, as I said before, it may be a conflict of some sort, yet at the end, there will still be peace when everybody leaves, because everybody will know that the right judgment was made according to the law. And even so, based, like I said, according to the adhering to the law based on my faith and believing that that's what needs to be done.
So Precinct 4, Place 2, what region does that cover? Talk to us about that.
Precinct 4 covers Killeen, Harker Heights, Nolanville, and some of the outskirts of even Killeen, Nolanville, and Harker Heights. It actually stretches to a few little parts of Belton, but I think most of that is basically Fort Hood territory. But it goes out towards that. I know a constituent that lives in Ding Dong, Texas. And so it kind of, like I said, it goes to the outskirts of Bell County as well, or Killeen, I'll say that way as well. So it encompasses all this area. So if you live in any of those areas, then you are able to vote in this election, which is, of course, a very important election, because, as I said before, even so, based on what I said, my slogan was the law, the evidence, and justice. This is also about stability of the law. So if you live in any of those areas, then I encourage you to vote, and don't sit back because you don't think your vote counts. Because I say this, and I tell a lot of people this: when it comes to voting locally, county, or state, every single vote counts. We count every single vote. When I was on the city council and I ran for my last position on the city council, me and my opponent tied. Every single vote counts. And I see one person almost every week, somebody who's supposed to go vote for me, and they said they forgot. That was my winning vote, because somebody forgot. How many people forget, and how many people just don't do it? Every single vote counts. So if you want to see stability in the law, if you want to see stability in the city of Killeen, Harker Heights, and Nolanville, as far as this precinct in regards to JPs, then get out and vote. And of course, I encourage you to vote for me.
What is the term of a JP in Precinct 4?
It's a 4-year term. 4 years, and then you have to run again.
Okay. All right. You've summed up and you shared a lot as it relates to that, but I want to go back again after all of that information, and I want you to kind of fine-tune it. And as a individual that may have never voted before, or an individual that is really concerned about having stability in that position, what makes me more fit for this job or have more uniqueness for this job than my other two candidates?
I'll say this, one thing that makes me more unique is my level of commitment. My level of commitment is great because when I was on the council, I still had my full-time job as a teacher and a coach. And I still put in the hours, of course, to do the council work as well. I didn't have a lot of time for myself, but yet at the same time, for 6 years, I stayed committed, and I stayed in the space. So with that same commitment that I had then, that uniqueness of commitment to do the job and to perform the job well, and to basically, if you will, guard what I've been made a steward of, then I have that commitment. And that's what makes me unique, because my commitment is not for my own self, it's not for personal gain, but my commitment is to the people and to public service. That's what my commitment is.
All right. You served 6 years on the city council.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a couple of things that maybe you did while in that position as a councilman that kind of stands out where you really was a blessing to the community.
I would say this. One thing that I did in 2017, 2018, I'll just talk about the justice part real quick first. But 2017, 2018, there was a situation where a sitting city council member decided to try to sue 3 citizens. And it was based on somebody thinking that, the election was done wrong and they wanted to think about possibly doing a recall. So a sitting city council member decided to sue 3 citizens, and the case went to court, and the council person lost that case. They got sanctioned, they got fined, and some other things that happened. Now, the citizens wanted to address the council about it, though. And so I remember at that time I went to the city manager and asked him, what recourse do the citizens have to come in and address the council about what they experienced and their concerns about it? And at that point in time, he said there was none, because we didn't have an ethics commission. And now what I was trying to do, I was trying to be as neutral as possible in the situation and trying to stay out of it, stay out of the middle of it, because I was trying to help the people. But when he said there was nothing that could be done, at that point in time, I went on and put it on the agenda. And when you put something on the agenda, the whole council agrees to it, or either agrees to it or doesn't agree to it. But I was trying to allow the citizens a way to come in and speak to the council regarding what had happened. And when it got to the point of, when we'll say the agenda item was delayed for over 2 months. And finally, when I insisted that it got on, and we got to the dais, and it was bad from there. I had council members yelling at me. I had council members cussing at me, council members asking me to go out into the parking lot. And we were doing all this stuff just behind me trying to allow the citizens to speak before the council concerning what had happened. And in the end, the majority of the council said the people don't have a reason or a right to speak before the council because the judge already made a decision. And so that's my integrity right there. That's my love for justice and my love for the people. An example of it right there is that even though I knew that it may not turn out well, even though I knew when I went in and the first thing when it first opened up, I knew it was kind of like a setup, then still I proceeded forward with it despite that. And, they didn't get to speak, but I still fought for that justice. Now, in regards to other things that I've done as community-wise, I would say this, there's plenty of, I just say I've served, I've helped so many people around Killeen just in general. And I remember at one point in time where people would call me and I would go out to their homes. And people were surprised I would come out there, but even one thing one of the former police chiefs told me, he said, you have to be careful with going out to so many people's houses, because that's what I did. I was a people person. They called me, I went out to their homes, I visited with them, saw their problems firsthand, brought it back and to the staff, and got a lot of things taken care of, from drainage issues to street issues to, if you want to say property issues. Just an array of things that I did. And even so, and I'll mention this right here, like even in Killeen, the light at Robinette and Elms Road, it used to not have a turn signal on there. It just used to be just 3 lights, and turning was almost impossible when cars were coming by. But I went on Facebook and saw people in the neighborhood chat talking about it. I submitted it, and it got done. In regards to, if you want to say, Bunny Trail Road, as far as the drainage issue there, in the end, I got that included when we were coming up with our CIP, our capital improvement plan, that portion wasn't in there, and I was pushing for it, and I asked the staff to go I said, just go look at it when it rains, just go look at it. And so eventually what happened was when they came back, and as we were finalizing the CIP, they said, Councilman Harris, you'll be happy to hear this, that we included that in the plan, because they went back out and reevaluated, and things weren't like it was. And so that got put into the plan, so that should be done soon. So there was, like I said, just even when it came to the ice storm, I had over 1,000 views because I was updating people, just all the time, just updating people, just updating them. So I had over 1,000 views at different times, 800 views. It was always above 500 what I had. So I mean, I was really into keeping the people informed. And so like I said, I've done an array of stuff that too much to basically either try to remember or say. But I mean, I was in it. I mean, I was doing what I was made a steward to do.
So you're actually a worker.
I am a worker.
A worker for the people.
I am.
Let me just ask you another question you may or may not have the answer to.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many votes it took for the last JP in Precinct 4, Place 2 to win?
I don't know about Place 2. The last one I remember was Place 1, and I do know that, let's see, that the sitting judge now, I know as far as the flow went, as you came from the eastern side of Killeen, the opponent was winning, but as you came more towards West Killeen, he started winning more. And so, but it was over 10,000 votes though. It was over 10,000 votes that got him in, and it was actually at the same time a good election cycle, a very good election cycle, and he ended up defeating his opponent pretty well in that aspect.
For those of you that may have tuned in late, we're talking to Steve Harris, former city councilman of Killeen. He is now running for Precinct 4, Place 2, JP position in the upcoming election, which is November the 8th, 2022. He is running on the slogan of
the law, the evidence, and justice.
The law,
for
evidence,
all.
And justice for all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He is a man of God. He is a man of integrity, and he has shared with us all of the things that he has done in the city, and he is hoping to have your vote in order to continue his service here in Killeen, Texas. Where are some of the places you can vote at, real quickly?
Some of the places you can vote at, you can vote at the county annex down on Pre Street. You can vote at the Lions Club Park. You can vote at the community center, and I'll have to try to remember the other places off the top of my head though. But
All
yes.
right. If you want to look up Steve Harris, give me an email. Give me a website real quick.
Okay, my website is Harris for JP4. That's Harris FOR JP4.com. Harris for JP4.com, and the same one, Harris for JP4, on Facebook as well.
All right, so go and check out Steve Harris as he runs for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, Place number 2. Remember, you've had 2 interviews about our candidates right here with the Men of Integrity. And remember, we're always praying for your miracle. Blessings to you.
Out of your belly, share flow.